Love you, Linda. Love you.
The courthouse the other day in the hallway, you're singing "Oh Happy Day."
One word prayer. Justice, where are you?
Welcome to Justice Served TV. I'm Michael Bryant. How are you, LKB?
Hi, I'm laughing still. Every time I watch our opening and I see you writing that suitcase down for when you were at the Sarah Boone trial, who's still in jail in Florida.
Yeah, I sent her a letter. She didn't get back to me yet.
Oh my goodness! I mean, she did respond to one of our.
She's still mad.
Our exes.
She's still mad at us.
Mad at us because we said that no one likes Sarah Boone.
That's right. That's why we went down there, and it's obviously a bizarro case. For those who don't remember, she zipped her boyfriend into a suitcase, part of a hide and seek game that went sideways, and she never let him out. There's video of her basically chiding him while he's in the suitcase. It's heartbreaking. When you know the end result.
Yeah.
Up to that point, it's like, well, that's cruel and mean, but yeah, it's also murder. So the reaction to it, though, was less than we might have expected for as bizarre as the case was. And I just summed it up as saying, well, everybody hates her. That's why. She's got no fans. And so we posted that, and she responded from jail. What did she just, it was like one word. What was it?
You said she has no one.
She said not everybody. I think she's something like that. Not everybody.
Right. We'll find it. We have it somewhere. And you did write her a letter to say, okay, well then let's
yeah, come on. Love to hear your story and tell us why you're likable.
It's just it's one of those things. Again, it's one of those unspeakable horrors when you know what's going to happen and you hear him pleading for Sarah, let him out, and then she apparently, from what you can gather, she pushed the suitcase down the stairs, apparently.
That's what it sounds like. There's some audio, and there were neighbors that testified about some thumps that weren't really...
Thump in the night.
It wasn't really clear what had happened, but you start putting the pieces together, and that's what it sounds like. That the suitcase was in a different position in the two different videos that she recorded, saying things like,
unbelievable.
Sarah, what did she said? That's my name. Don't wear it out. I mean, just
it's unbelievable. And just as we talk sometimes, the inhumanity of some of these cases. Sometimes we may chuckle or giggle about some things because it's a way to relieve the stress, because it's just horrible. Because what's left, that poor family is left, and they see that she recorded this, and that's what they're going to be left with, knowing what happened to the loved one for the rest of their life. Just terrible. Speaking about things that are terrible.
Yes, moving on. Another big case that is underway and really kind of paralleling the Karen Reed case, although interestingly, Karen Reed, this is only the second time we've seen her at trial, right? Lori Vallow Daybell, now to her liking, Lori Daybell, she dropped the Vallow, which is interesting because she's now on trial for the death of Charles Vallow, her third husband, the man that was offed by Alex, her brother, so that she could almost immediately marry Chad Daybell, who has also been convicted. Why are we talking about here? Yes, the kids, Tylee and JJ, Ryan. This is the next saga. She's already been convicted of their murders. She will never, ever get out of prison in Idaho. Now she's in Phoenix for this version of the case against her. But the real wrinkle in this case, and the one that makes it somewhat interesting, to be honest, is that she's representing herself.
Right, and she's accused of killing her ex-husband, Charles Vallow. And also there's in Arizona, the attempted murder of her cousin, I believe, her cousin's husband.
Yes,
Boudreaux.
I believe, Boudreaux, Mr. Boudreaux. And that's going to be...
Melanie Boudreaux's husband, right?
They've segregated that out. They've severed that out, bifurcated. Now there's two distinct trials that are going to go one sort of after the other. They've been a little loose on when the second one's going to take place, the attempted murder. But it should follow the one that's currently about to get started. They got a jury so fast. That seems to be... It's just amazing. Is this a situation where people are like, I want to be on that jury? I'm going to convince them one way or the other that I can do the right thing and be unbiased and not hold anything against the cloaked with innocence defendant who's sitting there now.
She is, by the way, representing herself, but she does unlike other people that we know, does have advisory counsel. I think one of her advisory counsel actually sits with her at counsel table. And she appears to listen to them. And apparently the motions that are being written, she writes and are reviewed by advisory counsel. She discusses with them. So it's interesting because if you recall, at one point, she was found incompetent to stand trial. Now she's not only competent to stand trial, she's apparently doing a pretty good job representing herself. Not that it's going to matter, but that's not my point. My point is that she's listening to counsel. She's writing motions that are very good motions, albeit losers, because no one cares.
Yeah, and to be honest, any defendant, represented or otherwise, is going to lose a lot of these kind of pretrial motions, right?
Right.
It's just the way the system is set up. I wanted to look at some of her interaction with the court. This Judge Justin Breski, as his name is, he's a saint. This guy, he has been so patient with her through all of the pretrial matters. And I know, when an appeal comes, and of course, if she's convicted, there will be an appeal. Right. He knows how scrutinized that is going to be when you have a self-represented defendant, even if she has, counsel advising her. So he's definitely bending over backwards, but he seems genuine to me, that he's not just, playing a game, that he's truly looking out for her, giving her what she needs if he can accommodate her. But she's very demanding, very demanding. This is a woman that's been, I think diagnosed officially, it's certainly unofficially, as narcissistic to the nth degree. And you see it in her every move. She loves the spotlight. She loves being the center of attention. And where is she now? She is the center of attention, representing herself. I guess if you've been convicted of murder elsewhere and you ain't ever getting out of prison, how bad could you do?
Quite frankly, she comes to court someday. She looks better than I do when I'm going into the office.
I wouldn't go that far, but she does. She does come in. She's made up, got the hair. I don't know how that works. She did that recent interview for Dateline or one of those mainstream shows,
right,
where she was just playing with. I think it was Dateline because it was what's his name? Older gentleman. He talks like this.
I know who he's talking about.
Yeah. And he was, just playing with her and vice versa. I'm not sure any substance came out of the interview, but she was decked out for it, was my point. And she's had, outside the presence of the jury, all these matters that have taken place, and she's shackled head and, waist, wrist, and feet, right? And so, she's taking notes, and she's got the handcuffs on and stuff. I am a little surprised they don't allow her a little more freedom, even though the jury's not there. Just because she's writing things. And do you think she's going to strangle somebody?
I think when the jury comes in, though, they're not going to have that. They're going to have her on a shock belt. She's not going to be shackled.
They said they're going to put a vest on her.
Yeah, shock vest.
The shock vest. But yeah, she'll have street clothes, and during the jury selection process, she did. So. Let's look at now, just to give you a feel for how this is going as it's ramping up, and it's going to happen. It could be as early next week.
Everyone I've spoken with has not been subpoenaed.
All right.
Your Honor, our subpoenas are with OPDS right now, and they should be being issued currently. The state talks about in their response, like the state is claiming trial by ambush from the defense. Trial by ambush. How is the defense trial by ambush when they have interviewed every single one of these witnesses before in the last 5 years since this case started? They've interviewed every single person that has been on there. They have written, transcripted interviews and video interviews of all of these people. And so how they are relevant, these witnesses will testify if and when they are needed to add additional facts or fill in the blanks that the state will no doubt leave out in their case in chief, and they'll be called accordingly. I need them to lay perhaps foundations for evidence presented by the state. The same with Lonnie Dorkin. I need his testimony will be required if and when it's necessary to rebut digital information that the state will bring forward during trial. I feel like the state is trying to say, okay, if you want your speedy trial, guess what? We're not going to let you defend yourself. Guess what? You can't have any experts. And guess what else? You can't have any witnesses. You can't have anybody speak in your behalf. So good luck. Have a nice day.
So that's obviously she's the one in the blondish hair and
right.
Her advisory counsel to her right. If you were just walking in on this, you wouldn't think, oh, this is this is a nut
Killer.
job.
Right,
Who-
right.
who-
This is the killer
yeah.
of
I'm
children
sure
and all.
if she is telling the truth about what she's now arguing, she's got a point. If she has not had access to the witnesses they intend to call because they haven't been properly served, and that's not her job. The county is going to be doing that.
Right.
That's who she identified, OPS, I think it's called. So she's saying we have to be able to talk to these people. The prosecution's done all of that already.
No doubt. In fairness, I mean, let's face it. This is the th trial. The witnesses are all crossover witnesses in all the trials. Of course, the prosecutions talk to them already. Of course. So actually, you could transport her and put her in a different courtroom, arguing some of the same things. And if you didn't know the history behind her, you'd say, "Well, this is pretty cogent."
Yeah. But so let's listen to more. Again, this is you can tell sort of she's not wearing togs. She's not in the prison togs, jail togs. She looks like she has a blazer or something on. But I do believe this is only because there was something going on in front of the prospective jurors earlier. This is obviously not taking place in front of them now.
All right. Well,
Look
that's
at this
why
judge.
attorneys sometimes take a long time to prepare for a trial, because they need to give notice of what all the testimony their witnesses are going to give. They need their experts to prepare reports. That's why your prior attorneys and your current attorneys were asking for more time to prepare the case. So you can't really have it both ways, that you want your speedy trial rights, but you don't want to give notice to the other side of what your evidence is.
I don't not want to give notice to the other side with the limitations at the incarcerated state where I am, and the limitations with OPDS of getting Lonnie Dworkin late in the game that they did. I've done everything in my power as a defendant to prepare the state and to give over everything that I could do within my power, with the limitations that I am an incarcerated person at this maximum security prison jail.
So when you say...
And I shouldn't be able to represent myself because of that fact? That negates my constitutional right?
I didn't say that. All right. I said that sometimes there are reasons to not go forward to trial as fast as you want. All right. So when you say things like they're going to fill in the blanks, that makes it really hard to assess what their relevant information is.
They have relevant information to a lot of factors that I got in the 404B information. For example, the life insurance. My father is a life insurance salesman. He worked with Charles on getting both life insurance policies, my $2 million policy and Charles' $1 million policy. He also tried to sell my insurance policy after Charles passed away. He also told me to go to call the insurance policy and said how to do that, how to call them when you're the beneficiary. I didn't know how to do any of those things. He has relevant information to that. My sister has relevant information to my brother, Alex Cox, and the whole situation of what happened on July 11th. These people have relevant information to the state's case, what they're accusing me of. There's very relevant information from a lot of these witnesses.
So what I'm struggling with is you just saying that it's relevant doesn't actually make it relevant. It may be relevant. I'm trying to find out the relevancy. What you said about your father being an insurance salesman and selling policies, that sounds relevant. It could be relevant to me. Who's your father? I don't know who your father is.
Barry Cox.
All right, Barry Cox. It sounds like even from what you're saying, though, you're not, depending on what the state produces at trial, you're not sure that these witnesses would have relevant information. It just depends, is what it sounds like.
Whatever they put up in their case in chief, am I not allowed to try to defend myself against that?
You're absolutely allowed. I'm just trying to figure out, I'm sort of a gatekeeper, and I need to make sure witnesses have relevant information.
I have attempted to reach these people. I've made my good faith effort. I've been told both by myself in attempting to contact them, as well as the defense investigator, that they've been unable to reach them. So it seems to not be following the rules of procedure or evidence to then bring up later on if they perhaps find these people at some point then the state can try to, at that point, preclude them. When the state talks about a trial by ambush, it is in fact that. When the defense investigator themselves cannot find these people and are still looking for them in trial when they've had at least, we'll say, 4 months to try to find them, I think that at this point, precluding them is proper.
Okay, let's talk about that. Let me get your take on that.
Yeah.
Because this happens a lot. Happens in a lot of trials where you're searching for somebody that isn't exactly amenable to being found,
Sure,
right?
they don't want to be involved in all of this, right?
Right. And so you get them finally at the 11th hour, even maybe during trial, perhaps. There's a mechanism to do that, right? And to deal with that. It's not
Right.
just a blanket exclusion.
Right, absolutely not. And it happens also on the state when you're a defendant. The state will say, "Look, we just found this witness." The judge will say, "How much time do you need to interview the witness and maybe investigate their story?" And they'll give you time to deal with it because it does happen as long as there's a good faith effort to find the person. Well, yeah, I've had that happen from the defense point of view, and then you have a decision whether you're going to call the person too, or risk somebody's wrath or ire. But you don't automatically say, "Okay, we're going to preclude them now," because it's really not trial by ambush because the witnesses are named, and she's giving what the relevant information is. She just told you about the father, and so really so you already know in advance what the information is that she's giving. So I don't really think that. I think the judge is going to probably take a wait and see approach on this.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, this is, we're not sure what the actual document is they might be talking about, whether it is truly a motion in limine or it's just some sort of request by the prosecution to close off any further investigation, to kind of say, look, this is the drop dead deadline. Don't be trying to surprise us with folks, ambush, as they say, after a given date. And they're asking the court to impose that. And I think you're right. The court probably will leave it wide open.
And I guess what she's going to try to do is say, remember, in this case, this is the case that it was ruled that her ex-husband, who was shot by her brother, who's now deceased, was self-defense, right?
Right, exactly.
That's the setup. And Alex Cox, the brother, everyone thinks that he was the family hit person. When I talk about hit people and families, we just came from discussing another case around so that, and then supposedly he dropped dead of natural causes, which I don't believe. It's a kind of aneurysm. I
some
just
sort
don't,
of poisoning or something.
there's all sorts of poisons we know nothing about that occur out of the Amazonian jungles and all. I mean, if you talk to anybody from that does this type of testing, they'll say, "Look, we only test for what we know. We don't test for what we don't know." Right? We just don't know a lot. But supposedly he dropped dead, right, of an aneurysm,
and nothing suspicious. It was considered natural causes.
So I guess she's going to try to say something to the effect that she had either one, she had nothing to do with this. This was her brother who was in whatever they were in some kind of argument. And she's going to try to show that she had nothing to do with it based on the insurance policies, I guess. I guess the motive that the prosecution is going to say has to do with insurance, and she wants to bring her father in to say he had a hand in what insurances they were going to buy and who were the beneficiaries, I gather. That's what it sounds like. Not that it helps her. Not that it necessarily helps her. I mean, there was an old show with Angela Lansbury called Murder, She Wrote.
Murder, She Wrote, yes.
Murder, She Wrote. And it's still,
Murder,
I think...
She Wrote. There's a comma.
And the thing about it was, she lived in a small town in Maine, and everybody around her was dropping dead, right? Every week there was a new murder in the town, right? You wouldn't want to be her friend. You wouldn't want to move there.
That's right.
This is like Glory Vallow Daybell. Everybody around her, except for her last husband, died.
Yeah, that was because they were all dark spirits. That's why. Come on, of course.
Of course. And
just a few enlightened souls, That's why I always thought it was odd about her demeanor and Chad Daybell's. If you truly believe, you're the chosen ones, and it's just, they keep picking an end of times date, right?
Right.
Why do you care about the legal process or any of that? Why do you care? Because it's going to be zip. You're chosen. Everybody else going to be vaporized, and you're going to be king shit. So I always thought they protested a bit too much for folks that didn't, have anything to fear if you believe them.
Yeah. So we're going to have to see how this comes out. This is going to be interesting only because she's representing herself.
It really does make it interesting, and I think it's educational too.
Right,
Uh,
right.
Attorneys are not necessarily the brightest bulbs in the box. They just
Now,
happen. They
speak
just
for
happen.
yourself.
They do the work. They learn. I always say, eat enough hot dogs, you become an expert in hot dogs. People who are lawyers are experts in the law because they've consumed it and
Yeah.
they've learned how to make it work for them. No doubt, going to law school, you learn to think differently. That's a different issue. But just to understand the material and to understand how to make it work for you and anticipate how it's going to be used against you, she can do that. She's not an idiot.
Yep.
So-
And then after this case, she's going to have the Brandon Boudreaux case in the same situation. These are the two cases, by the way, she has the best chance of having an acquittal on, because the medical examiner ruled one initially with Charles Vallow that it was a self-defense with a fight with Alex Cox. And with Boudreaux, he never saw who the shooter was. And it's obviously, in all of our opinions, had to be Alex Cox. And the question
they
was,
saw
who
his
was
Jeep
behind?
and,
Right.
all of those
All
things.
that kind of stuff.
But it's
So-
still, the jury still has to make that leap from, okay, we know Alex did it. Did she truly have the control over this guy that would lead him to do these things in either of these two cases? That's the hurdle for the
Beyond a
prosecution.
reasonable doubt.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to follow, and we will do
Yep.
that as Karen Reed also blossoms. So you know where to go for the latest on this stuff. I'm Michael Bryant. We'll see you next time. Until then, try to do the right thing.
And I'm Linda Kenny Bodden. And please hit that like, subscribe, share, and notify button. And we'll see you next time on Justice Served TV.